You know, in the world of aviation, a simple list can be the one thing standing between a safe landing and a total catastrophe. In this look at Atul Gawande's The Checklist Manifesto, we're going to dive into exactly how that's possible.
I mean, really think about that question. How does a simple list, something so basic, prevent disaster in one of the most complex and high-stakes environments we've ever created? It seems almost too simple to be true, doesn't it? Well, let's find out. To get to the heart of this, the author, Atul Gawande, he went straight to the source. He went to Boeing headquarters where he met a guy named Dan Borman, who was a key figure in developing what they call Boeing's flight philosophy.
So, what is a flight philosophy? It's so much more than just a rulebook. Think of it as a governing theory for how a cockpit crew is supposed to operate. It lays out the routines, how they should use all the automated systems, and, this is the crucial part, how they're supposed to react when everything goes sideways. And this isn't just some theory dreamed up in an office. It's a philosophy that's been forged from studying thousands of crashes and near misses. Okay, so if you're picturing a pilot flipping through one gigantic, phone book-sized checklist, that's not really how it works. The reality is that the big, thick handbook you see in the cockpit is actually a collection of scores of short, really specific checklists, and each one is designed for a very particular situation.
And these lists pretty much fall into two main categories. First, you've got your normal checklists. These are for all the routine stuff, like pre-flight checks and taxiing. They only take up a few pages. But then, the rest of that 200-page book, that's filled with non-normal checklists. These cover every emergency you can possibly imagine. We're talking smoke in the cockpit, total engine failure, you name it. They're there to prepare pilots for the worst day of their lives, a day they hope never, ever comes. To really understand why those non-normal checklists are so critical, we have to look at a terrifying real-world example. Let's talk about United Airlines Flight 811, a Boeing 747 that took off from Honolulu back in 1989.
The crisis happened so fast, it's hard to even comprehend. At 0 seconds, an electrical short unlatches the cargo door. Just 1.5 seconds later, there's a massive explosive decompression. The door, 5 rows of seats, and tragically 9 passengers are just blown out of the plane. And in that instant, all the cabin pressure and all the breathable oxygen are gone.
The physics of what was happening are just mind-boggling. That huge pressure difference between the inside of the plane and the thin air at 22,000 feet basically acted like a ring pull on a shaken soda can. The crew's only chance was to equalize that pressure, and they had to do it fast.
And this is where your gut instinct can actually kill you. The intuitive thing to do is slam the emergency depressurization switch. But here's the problem. Doing that would instantly plunge everyone into Mount Everest-like conditions with no oxygen. The correct procedure, the one laid out in the checklist, is totally counterintuitive. You make a rapid but controlled descent down to 8,000 feet, where you can safely equalize the pressure because people can actually breathe the air. And get this, in the middle of all that chaos, with a gaping hole in their plane and engines failing, the cockpit voice recorder picked up this incredible exchange. Their training just took over, and they reached for the checklist.
Now, that trust in the checklist, that wasn't an accident. It was earned. It was earned because the tool itself was so meticulously crafted to work under the most extreme pressure. And as you're about to see, there's a real art to getting it right.
As Dan Borman explained it, there are good checklists and there are bad ones. Bad checklists, they're vague, way too long, totally impractical. They're the kind of thing made by people who have no real feel for the situation on the ground. But a good checklist, that's totally different. It's precise, it's efficient, and it only reminds you of the absolute most critical steps. It doesn't replace your expertise, it enhances it. It actually frees up your brain to focus on the real problems. A good checklist turns your brain on. So how do you actually build a checklist that works? Borman lays out 5 key steps. 1, you need a clear pause point, a specific moment when you know to use it. 2, you have to pick the right type. Is it a do-confirm list, where you do the steps from memory and then check them? Or a read-do list, like following a recipe? 3, focus only on the killer items, the steps that are the most dangerous to miss. 4, use simple, exact language. And 5, maybe the most important of all, test it in the real world, over and over again. Yeah, that whole testing thing is absolutely non-negotiable. Borman was really clear with Gawande on this. He said, first drafts always fall apart. You just can't write a checklist in an office and expect it to hold up. You have to see how it performs when everything is on the line. And that's exactly why flight simulators are so essential. You see, they're not just for training pilots how to fly. For the checklist designers, that simulator is a laboratory. They can throw a new checklist right into the middle of a simulated emergency, time the crew, see where they get confused, and then refine it again and again until it's as effective as it can possibly be. So the lessons we can take away from 30,000 feet are really powerful. First, trust the process, not just your gut feeling. A good procedure actually helps you think more clearly. It doesn't shut your brain down. When the pressure's on, simplicity and clarity are everything. And really, at the heart of all this is a bit of humility. It's about admitting that our memories are fallible and that a simple tool can be the backup that literally saves lives. And that kind of leaves us with one final thought to chew on. In your own work, in your own life, what's the most dangerous step to skip? What's your killer item? And how could a simple, well-designed checklist make absolutely sure you never, ever miss it?